Francis Drake, the ADA, and Sam Houston are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is July 26, 2022. It is the 207th day of the year. We got 158 days left. It is the 30th Tuesday in the 31st week. And I just started my New Year's resolution, which is to stop procrastinating. If today's your birthday, you are a Leo. Today is National Bagel Fest Day. On July 26, we recognize the kosher carbohydrate. Toast one, add a schmear or two. If you don't, you're not really celebrating Bagel Fest Day. Polish Jewish immigrants introduced the bagel to the United States. This became a booming business throughout New York City and the surrounding boroughs. Didn't take long for it to reach every corner of the United States and every corner of the world nowadays. It was really hard to come by until the 1960s. Prior to the 1960s, they were all made by hand, and then someone came up with machines to make bagels, and they're still pretty good. I don't remember eating a bagel prior to the 1960s because I wasn't born yet, but I imagine they taste about the same. All right, let's see what else July 26 has given us. 1579, Francis Drake, the English explorer, discovered a bay on the coast of California, which is now known as San Francisco Bay. 1775, the office that would later become the United States Post Office Department is established by the Second Continental Congress. Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania becomes the first Postmaster General. 1788, New York ratifies the United States Constitution and becomes the 11th state of the United States. 1803, the Surrey Iron Railway, arguably the world's first public railway, opens in South London, United Kingdom. 1863, American Civil War. Morgan's raid ends at Salineville, Ohio. Confederate cavalry leader John Hunt Morgan and 360 of his volunteers are captured by Union forces. 1941, World War II. In response to the Japanese occupation of French Indonesia, the United States, Britain, and the Netherlands freeze all Japanese assets and cut off oil shipments. 1947, during the Cold War, U.S. President Harry S. Truman signs the National Security Act of 1947 and the United States law creating the Central Intelligence Agency, the United States State Department, the United States Air Force, Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the United National Security Council. It was a busy day. 1963, SYNCON-2, the world's first geosynchronous satellite, is launched from Cape Canaveral on a Delta B booster. 1990, the Americans with Disability Act of 1990 is signed into law by President George H.W. Bush. So for the longest time, I've had people asking me to make a video on my other channel about Americans with disabilities, best cities, best states, and stuff like that. And I've tried a couple of them, and they're never really interesting or anything like that, so I've never put one up. I should rephrase that. I put one up, it never went live because it was demonetized for some frickin' reason. I reached out to YouTube, I have no idea why it was demonetized, so we'll see how this one works out. The most amazing thing about the ADA in 1990 is not that it was signed, it's why it took so long to get signed. There had always been protests and advocacy for the disabled and trying to make the built world a little bit different. But it wasn't until some teenagers met each other at a summer camp for disabled where it really got kicked into high gear. And in 1973, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 was signed. Section 504 was the biggest part that changed the world for the disabled. I shouldn't say changed it, it really got the ball rolling. This section prohibited federally funded programs, agencies, and buildings from discriminating against disabled people. Section 504 paved the way for the historic signing of the ADA. Now, one of the biggest things the ADA did was make it so that public buildings have to be accessible to people with disabilities. You got the various ramps and stuff like that now. You have elevators that have to be a certain width, height, and all that stuff, along with the handicap stalls and bathrooms. It didn't stop there. It also placed protections against employment discrimination for the disabled. Now, in my personal opinion, I can't believe that it took that long for something like this to be signed. If you're putting up a multi-billion-dollar building someplace, how hard is it to put in a couple wheelchair ramps and a couple stalls? This should have been done in the 1920s. It's not like disabled people or people in wheelchairs just showed up out of nowhere. Anyway, it's a good thing that it's signed and it's on the books. 2016, Solar Impulse 2 becomes the first solar-powered aircraft to circumnavigate the Earth. Movies released on July 26, 2019. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, and the film follows a faded TV actor and his stunt double on a quest to make it in the film industry during the time of the Charles Manson murders. There's some really weird tie-ins in this movie. Everyone said it was like the greatest movie of 2019 and just ranted and raved about it. I saw it. It was good. I don't think it was the best movie of 2019. For me, that's 1917. That was the best movie of 2019. I think Knives Out was better too. This was the first Tarantino film not to be associated with Harvey Weinstein, probably because he was in jail, for good reason too. But yeah, if it's on HBO or Amazon Prime, Netflix, whatever, it's worth watching. I just don't think it was the best movie of 2019. Born on July 26, 1928, Stanley Kubrick, iconic director, cinematographer, and screenwriter who excelled across a number of genres, with the 1968 film classic 2001: A Space Odyssey to the 1980 horror movie The Shining, Clockwork Orange, Dr. Strangelove, which was phenomenal. The actual real name of that political satire movie is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Died on July 26, 1863, Sam Houston, American politician who served as a U.S. Senator from Texas from 1846 to 1859 and was the 7th governor of Texas from 1859 to 1861. He was credited for bringing Texas into the United States. Before moving to Texas, he served in the U.S. House of Representatives for Tennessee from 1823 to 1827 and was elected the 6th governor of Tennessee in 1827. He was removed from his post as governor when he refused to swear allegiance to the Confederacy during the American Civil War. He was arrested for assault. Francis Scott Key served as his lawyer. If you're not aware of who that is, he's the dude that wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. Sam Houston died on July 26, 1863 at the age of 70. They just said his health suffered and he was declining with age. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.